Unexpected Gains Being a Vegetarian. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast of The Ordinary Maverick. This is Ajay, your host, an ordinary maverick, sharing real life thoughts and experiences and maverick tips. Recording this podcast from a very warm and sunny Abuja, Nigeria. I traveled back from Minneapolis, which was extremely cold. Traveling in these COVID times has been such an adventure. Thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast and for all the feedback. I love putting these together and sharing with all of you, and knowing that in some way we are all connected. In today's podcast, I'm going to share my experiences with being a vegetarian and traveling and some unexpected gains along the way. Now, I have been a vegetarian all my life, born into a family that doesn't eat any meat or eggs. That was my reality, and I was very happy with it, I must say. We were exposed to non vegetarian foods through many close friends of our family and went for meals where meat dishes were prepared, eaten, and praised, so that was not an issue at all. Growing up in India, I was never at a loss to find vegetarian cuisine. In fact, it's one country where you can go to a restaurant and get a menu that looks like a binder with pages and pages of vegetarian options and dishes to suit any palate. Further, running a vegetarian restaurant and being a vegetarian was normal. Now, why do I say that? It comes from the reactions I got when I started traveling overseas. Now, this was over 30 years back, at a time when vegetarianism was not quite the norm. Today, we live in a different world. There's vegetarians, eggetarian, pescatarians, vegans, non-dairy eaters, etc., etc. I remember the first time I went abroad, and guess where that trip was to? Africa. Yes, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania actually. Meat is the mainstay of cuisine in all these countries. I remember going to one of the restaurants where the meat was being barbecued and brought to the table. I realized that there was meat of every kind. Deer meat, also known as venison, wild buffalo, kudu, ostrich, crocodile, lamb, goat, chicken. Wow, I sat there with mixed feelings. I was both in awe as well as a bit shocked that people could eat all these animals. But looking around and seeing everyone enjoying and praising the meat, it was quite obvious. I'm sure some of you listening to this podcast would relate to my experience if you are a vegetarian too. Now, let me tell you some of the unexpected gains when you travel. 1. You stand out. Yes, suddenly all the attention is on you, and everyone is trying to help get you something to eat. It's a great way to connect and make friends. Yeah. Then, of course, there's that instant bonding with a fellow vegetarian on an overseas trip. Finding that connect when you're away from home instantly helps break the ice, and suddenly a stranger becomes your best friend as you go together for meals and find the veggie options. Come to think of it, I've actually found the most amazing vegetarian food outside of India. The best Indian bread, parathas, I've had was at this eatery in Japan. I was attending the Special Olympics in Nagano, working with a team, and I must say it was an amazing experience. There are many memories of that trip, but the hot, flaky, delicious parathas are definitely one of the top ones. Then there was this all vegetarian place we discovered in Hong Kong. Now that's a city where one can find almost anything to eat. And I mean anything. We'll not go into the details here, but anything and everything that moves is available to eat in Hong Kong. We went for a family holiday, and one of the agenda items daily was where will we get vegetarian food. My family eats meat, so that's not an issue. But we needed to find vegetarian food for me. And then we discover a treasure right in the city. Completely vegetarian, the restaurant specialized in preparing dishes in the East Asian style. It was one of the best vegetarian meals we have ever had. Each dish uniquely prepared and simply delicious. Now there's another treat, one of making friends and being the recipient of kindness. What do I mean by that? Well, while traveling, you select your meal, and I always make it a point to do that before my flight. However, 9 out of 10 there's a mistake. Some mix up will happen. I've been served fish as a veggie meal, as many times vegetarians are expected to eat fish. Then I got smarter and started selecting vegan or Asian veg if the option was available, and that helped. I do recall a time on a transatlantic flight of over 15 hours when there was no veggie meal for me. There was a mix-up as the flight attendant said apologetically and that they were sorry. Well, I thought, that's it. We'll just have to go hungry. And then one of the attendants, a really sweet lady, came up to me and gave me this delicious vegetarian lasagna. Said it was a meal from the first class and she'd brought it for me. All through the flight, she took care and brought these fabulous veggie meals for me from the first class. We struck up a friendship in the skies, and it was one of the best flights I've ever been on. All because I was a vegetarian. We've been living in Africa for the last decade and have traveled to many countries, being mavericks at heart and loving all the exploring. One of the reactions I often get, no, there's no way you can be a vegetarian. You are so tall and well built. Well, how do we get your proteins? Don't you need to eat meat? I've realized there's a lot more we need to do to raise awareness on vegetarianism as a lifestyle and its benefits, particularly on our climate. But that's for another time. I want to leave you with this thought. Stick with it. It may be your diet, your way of life, what you believe in, even when the going is tough. On a lighter note, I did have some hunger pangs on my flight before the act of kindness came through. And that's what will happen. Keep at it, and life will give you back manyfold. Maybe through random acts of kindness, of caring, the universe will keep you going if you keep going. So, fellow Mavericks, on that positive note, this is Ajay signing off. Write in your comments, share your feedback. I would love to hear from you. And for some more Maverick tips, do subscribe to the Ordinary Maverick podcast. Stay well, stay safe.